In this tutorial, I'll show you the basics of Grease Pencil and how to easily animate this 2D shape-shifting creature. When we are using Grease Pencil, some shapes can be a hassle to draw, like having rounded corners to a basic shapes like rectangles. But what if all these shapes could be created in a different way that gives us full control, is easy to customize, and also makes animating easier, even in extreme ways? Let's find out. I'll also show you secret advanced tips at the end. I'll start Blender with the 2D animation preset. I usually drag a new area, change the area to properties, so I can see the layers, outline and materials. I'll remove the other materials, but leave the solid stroke, and add new materials for this project. A black fill, a white fill, a black stroke with a white fill, and a material that will be our creature's main color. I'll choose a black stroke with a blue fill. These colors can be changed at any given time. Next, I select the circle tool under this menu. I make sure that the strength is set to 1, and I turn off auto keying down here, so I don't create unnecessary keyframes during this tutorial. I'll choose a black stroke with a white fill from the material list and draw the eye socket. When the shape is good, I press enter to confirm. Then I switch the material to black fill and draw another circle for the iris, and draw another circle with a white material for the light reflection. For the mouth, I choose a black stroke with a white fill. I'll use the curve tool to draw a line. I can adjust the curve from these blue dots. When I want to continue drawing, I press E to extrude forward and adjust it again. Lastly, I'll extrude to the original point and press enter to confirm. Next, I use masking to create the teeth and the eyelids. From the lines layer that I have been using, I enable masks and select the fills layer. I invert the mask from this symbol. Then I choose the fills layer and add a mask for lines layer. Now when I select the creature material and draw inside the fills layer, the drawing doesn't go over what I have in the lines layer. Next, I'll change the material to solid stroke and use the line tool to draw the teeth. Now I need to add another eye. Instead of drawing it again, I'll switch to edit mode up here. I press C for circle select tool and select the eye. When the outline is orange, the part is active and I can make changes. I duplicate the eye with Shift D shortcut and drag it to the other side. And I mirror it with Ctrl M X shortcut. I can also select everything with the A shortcut and scale the drawing smaller if it was too big, and move it to the center with the G shortcut. If the mouth is in the wrong place, I can deselect everything with Alt A shortcut and select the mouth again and move it to a better place. I can also select by materials and easily change materials here. Next, I want to animate the facial expression. There's one thing you should know about interpolating Grease Pencil keyframes. It works best if you have the same set of vector points as the previous frame. I usually duplicate the keyframes in the timeline with Shift D shortcut. Then I make changes to the other frame in edit mode or sculpt mode. I can move the eyelids up and scale the mouth in Z axis. When I want to interpolate, I move the playhead between these two keyframes and use the interpolate sequence, which is located in draw mode and edit mode. This window pops up where I can make changes to the animation, like changing step value. I can select all layers. I'll usually try using the flip mode if the animation is wonky, but sometimes shapes do translate badly and there's little you can do about it. Here I can change the linear interpolation to custom, and I can use a custom curve that gives out different animations. If I want to change the animation later, I need to interpolate the keyframes again. I can select the layer in the timeline and go to Key, Delete Breakdown Keyframes. Then I can interpolate again. Now it's time to switch to the fun part. I'll add another workspace up here, Geometry Nodes. I press this icon to switch back to the camera view and switch the mode to rendered view up here. Next, I press this new button to add a Geometry Nodes modifier to the selected Grease Pencil object. Since I want to add stuff below our drawing I just made, I press Shift A, press Search and add a Join Geometry node. Next I add a curve quadrilateral node and hook it above the group input. I should see a line in the middle. That is actually a rectangle when you look it from another angle. I need to rotate these shapes 90 degrees, so I add a Transform Geometry node and add 90 degrees to the x-axis. I can also adjust the location if it's not in the middle of our face. I can also adjust the size from the Transform Geometry node or from the Curve node. To make the background solid, I need to add a Fillet Curve node set to Poly. Then a Fill Curve node set to N-gons. Since this node converts the curve to a mesh, I have to add a Mesh to Curve node. Then a Curve to Grease Pencil node. I uncheck this instance as Layer Box. If I want to use a different material to this background, I have to add a Set Material node and select the desired material. I can round the corners here by adding more poly count to the curve. I recommend limiting the radius if I don't want wonky results. Holding Shift while adjusting these values makes the numbers slide slower. Now I can quickly draw shapes that would take a long time with the traditional workflow. But there's more. This node has even more options to explore. This one can shear the object fast once I tune down these settings a bit. Trapezoid can control the shape even more when I play with the settings. Kite is maybe my favorite. I mean, look at this guy. Points gives me total freedom to tweak the shape. I can make some really wonky shapes with this one. But that's not all. Another awesome node is the Star primitive. Meet Starman, Starfish Man, Splash Man, Saw Man, Sun Man, Cookie Man, Puzzle Man, and Wheel Man. So yeah, the shape can be basically anything, and there's also other primitives you can try. Now, how about I animate this guy next? I'll add a Transform Geometry node next to the Star node. I can see that the Z-axis rotates it sideways. When I add a Scene Time node and hook it to the rotation slot, the animation goes a little bit wonky. I can fix this by adding a Combine XYZ node. I can change the rotation axis by changing the line input here. I can also change the speed by adding a Vector Math node set to multiply and increasing the values. Changing this value to negative also flips the direction. Now, all these values can be animated when I add keyframes to them with I shortcut. I move the playhead ahead in the timeline. I can change the values and add new keyframes for them. Now, when I play the animation, I'll get better results than I would with the traditional interpolation. And if I need to adjust the animation later, I have to select a specific node to see the keyframes. Now for the advanced tips. Since I added the geometry nodes to a grease pencil object, I can use grease pencil effects that I can only see when the viewport is set to rendered view up here. For instance, I can add a rim effect, change the offset a little, add some blur, duplicate it and offset it again to get the effect to the other side. I can also add a shadow effect, increase the alpha value to full black and adjust the position. If I want to pixelate this guy, there is a pixelate effect that does the job. Wave distortion is also fun, and I can add keyframes to the face value to animate it. But that's not all. Many modifiers also work with this setup, like thickness modifier so I can change the stroke width easily, or opacity modifier if I forgot to change the stroke strength at the beginning. I can also get cool effects when I play with modifiers like offset, smooth, simplify, and so forth. Some modifiers like noise only work properly when I apply the geometry nodes modifier. I can go to frame 1 and apply the modifier here. This does, however, remove the animations I did with the nodes before, but luckily this can be fixed. I'll first remove the noise and thickness modifiers and switch to object mode. I can use a command called Bake Object Transformation to Grease Pencil. That also lets me to change the frame step of the animation. This creates a new object that looks a little bit wonky at first. But no worries, I can go to Layers and rotate the stroke underdash layer 90 degrees on the x-axis. I'll adjust the location and scale a little. Then I need to recreate the masks. So Lines layer has an inverted mask set to Fills, and Fills has a mask set to Lines layer. Sometimes a weird thing can happen and the baking can mess up your materials. Then you need to manually switch them from the material list until they are right. If you want to have the same effects as your unbaked version, choose it first at the outliner, then the new object. Press Ctrl L shortcut and select Copy Grease Pencil Effects. And now I can use all Grease Pencil modifiers like the noise. If I want to add more juice to the noise modifier's animation, I can add a subdivide modifier set to simple and move it before noise modifier. And now that this is all keyframes, I can also distort the animation and shape even more by harnessing the power of multi-frame editing that works in edit mode and sculpt mode. I select all keyframes or parts of them in the timeline and enable multi-frame up here. Then I can do stuff like smooth a part of the animation, add noise to certain parts of the animation, push or grab some parts of the animation. I can create some really nice effects with this. I can also add a new material, stroke or fill, and toggle the hold art option over here. Then I can go to draw mode and paint parts that will not be rendered. I can also use masks to draw extra things inside the animated shape I created. I go to frame 1 and add a new layer. I add a mask and target the stroke underdash layer. Then I can do stuff like add new materials and switch to draw mode. I turn off multi-frame editing if it's still on and draw inside the shape. I can of course interpolate this if I want to. Here's the final animation where I have combined everything I showed in this tutorial and added some extra animations. Best way to support this channel is to get my Grease Pencil products on Superhive and Gumroad, and subscribe to show your support. See you next time!